Hey guys, Ray Bashir here with Blue Shield Tactical Systems. Today we're going to be talking about something that every police officer most likely will eventually do, and that's testify in court. So we're going to give you some tips today on how to do that, some of the things you should be thinking about, and because not every officer gets a chance to testify in court. I know officers that have 3 or 4 years in as a police officer and still haven't had the opportunity to testify in court. Why is that? A lot of the district attorney's offices actually plea bargain those cases, so those officers don't get much of a chance to be able to go in to testify in court. So they're just running through those cases left and right. So we're going to talk about some of those. So the first thing is read your report. Be aware of the facts of the case. You don't have to know every little detail about the case, but be aware of the date, time, certain facts that's going to be brought up in court. Have those in your head and go ahead and memorize them. Go over the report several times. Review your video before court. If you have a body cam or a dash cam video of that incident, go ahead and review that beforehand. The prosecutor should be reviewing those with you beforehand or talking to you about some issues that may come up, but make sure that you're doing that. Wear a shirt and tie if you're not going to wear a uniform. Make sure that you look nice, or a suit. Don't scramble the night before, guys, and go in with a shirt that's all wrinkled up, or you just don't look nice. Your shoes are not shined. Get some sleep. Departments should be working with you anyway. And I realize this happens because I've done it as well, where I've worked the night shift and then that morning I had to go and testify in court. That shouldn't be happening. Those departments, and I understand we all get short-handed, but those departments should be working with those officers to make sure that they're getting some sleep before they go to court. It's not just about making the arrest, writing the report, and that being the end of it. You have to be able to go through with the prosecution as well. So remember the details if there was a motion to suppress. Remember the things that were brought up by the defense when it comes to the motions to suppress, because a lot of cases there may be evidence that they try to get suppressed, and that's something else that they could actually bring up in court as well. Also, very important, guys, treat both attorneys the same. So be polite to the defense as well as the prosecution. It's not personal, and keep it that way. Keep it professional. Your job is to present the facts of the case. So don't worry about, if they get off. It's okay if the person, you know in your mind they committed the crime, but still, they were able to, the jury didn't find them guilty. It's okay. Just do a better job next time. But don't take it personal. I see so many officers that, they go back and they look at the cases and they want to see if, if the person was convicted on this. They want to see if the person was convicted. There's nothing wrong with that if you're trying to improve yourself. If it's for self-improvement. And sometimes they get upset and they did everything right and they still get upset that they didn't get a conviction. And it's more of a personal thing with them, and we don't want it to be that way. We want to keep it professional, and we keep it professional in the courtroom as well. So treat the defense the same way as you do the prosecution. Be polite, answer the questions. Don't be evasive with your answers. That's something else too. If they ask you a question, just be straightforward. If you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. But don't seem to be evasive, because guess what? The jury's looking at you. They're watching you. And the way you respond on the stand is extremely important. Also, talking loud enough so that they can hear you. Extremely important. I've seen people get up on the stand and, they're mumbling or they're talking real low, and it's because they're scared normally. It's the first time that maybe they've testified in court. So, they're not speaking clearly and they're not speaking loud enough. Also, don't forget, guys, look at the jury. I can't tell you how many officers I've seen that have been on the stand that they will not look at the jury. They will not. It's like they're afraid of them. They don't want to look over at them, and you'll see them they'll look at the prosecution the entire time that they're asking the questions, or the defense, and they will never look at the jury. Always it may be on your left or maybe on your right, depending on the courtroom setup. So always take a look at them, and when you answer that question, make eye contact with the jury, and deliver the answer to that question. And smile, be polite, and be kind. And then that goes also with don't get angry or upset. If the defense asks you a question that you've already answered, and they'll do this a lot of times, where they'll ask the same question again, avoid saying things like, that's something I've already said or I've already answered. Or, saying, I've already told you, the answer to this. Or it's already in the report. Just avoid things like that. Just answer the question. If it's the same one that they've already asked and they're just asking it in a different way, just answer it again. Not a big deal. And be nice about it. Admit, very important guys, admit if you make a mistake in your report. It's not a big deal unless you make it a big deal. For instance, it may have been a red shirt that the person was wearing, and you wrote in the report that it was brown. Well, to you, it looked brown at the time. So it's not that big of a deal. Just say, it was my mistake. I thought it was brown. I wrote it in the report that it was brown. It was actually red. Obviously, it is. We see it in the courtroom, and it was red. It was my mistake. Because what does that say to the jury? It tells them that you're a human being and you're also willing to admit when you make a mistake. And so, at the same time, I may say, yeah, I made a mistake on this, but the other facts in the case are correct. So it's not that big of a deal unless, like I said, again, you make it a big deal. They may ask you if you spoke with the prosecutor before you came to court today. They know that you did, generally. And I've actually seen some officers that didn't, where the prosecution didn't call them in and speak with them, which that shouldn't be happening. They should go over the case beforehand with you. But what they're trying to make it look like is you and the prosecution got together against their client, and you're in cahoots with them to get their client. So understand that it's not that big of a deal. They know that you spoke with the prosecution. So they may ask you some questions, depending on the case, about your policy. So it's important to know your policy, to know that if this case is going to pertain to something in your policy, make sure you go over it, make sure you have it. It's just like SFST and stuff like that when we're talking about DUIs or DWIs, making sure that you go over that information before you get up on a court stand, because that's some of the officers' biggest fears, get up on the DUI or DWI and look like a fool. And it can happen because that's what those attorneys do, and they know that book inside and out because they've sat there and they've read it over and over again, and they know what to bring up, and they've gotten good at it because that's what they defend their clients on. Again, don't argue. Point out the facts of the case. We talked about don't guess if you don't know, guys. If you don't know the answer to something, don't guess. Make sure if it's, let me ask you about how many feet were you from their client or whatever it may be. That's not something to guess about. Or they may ask you some other question that they're wanting you to guess about, and so they're going to bring that up. Also, guys, if it is not in your report, be careful about testifying about it. If it was important enough to get up on a stand and testify about, it should be in the report, because this can come back and bite you as an officer, because the defense will then say, officer, can you show me, is your report true, correct, accurate, those kind of statements? And obviously you're going to say, yes, it is. And then what they're going to bring up is they're going to say, well, can you show me in this report what you just testified to? So that's why I'm telling you, make sure, and in front of the jury it looks horrible, so make sure that if you're going to testify to it, it's in your report. Okay, guys, I hope these little things that we just brought up will help you, especially if you've never been to court to testify in any kind of case or even a high-profile case. So I hope this will help. So if you have training that you would like at your agency, or you'd like to see attend some of the training that we have coming up, go ahead and log on to blueshieldtactical.com. We've got other videos that are there, and we're willing to help you in any way we can, even if you don't attend our courses. We're all fellow law enforcement officers. We should be supportive of each other, so that's what we're here to do, is support you. So guys, be safe out there, watch your six, have a great day.